What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, the heavyweight great fights just keep on coming. We got one coming up at the end of the month here. Dillian Whyte is going to be taking on Otto Wallin. And this fight is really interesting because I think the winner of this fight will likely be Tyson Fury's next fight. You know, we have AJ is going to invoke his immediate rematch clause, most likely with Alexander Usyk, which is going to tie the two of them up for another 6 months or so. And the Wilder and Fury trilogy is now come to a close. So when you look for who Fury might fight next, likely it will be the winner of this fight, and likely it will be for that green WBC belt. And this is where it gets interesting. Otto Wallin probably gave Fury the toughest fight of his career thus far, certainly in recent memory. And Dillian Whyte is no slouch either. This is going to be a very, very good heavyweight matchup.
Yeah, and if you're a casual fan of combat sports or boxing, or you're a big MMA fan but you don't know a ton about it, obviously everybody knows Tyson Fury, especially after this weekend. If you didn't know, now you know. So what I would recommend is for sure watch this fight. It's going to be very fun, and Wallin has a unique style that's very unlike many people that you will see fight, especially at the heavyweight level. Tyson Fury had to really troubleshoot with him. That was a fun fight to watch. It was interesting. It was weird, unconventional, but those are the fights that are really fun to watch, and they kind of keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time because you're not just seeing standard 1-2s, and there's a lot of dirty boxing. There's some interesting tie-ups that happen. So I highly recommend, if you're not super familiar with Dillian Whyte or Otto Wallin, that you watch this fight because you're, like you said, they're likely going to be squaring up against Tyson Fury next. And in typical boxing fashion, they always put a couple of filler fights in between the major fights that we want to see. I know everybody has Usyk versus Fury on the tip of their tongue after this weekend, and after Usyk fought AJ a couple weekends ago. So we want to see that fight happen. But of course, we're going to have to wait and be anticipating the matchup and watch a couple of fights between both of these guys take place because of rematch clauses or, mandatory contenders and all of that sort of stuff. But I do see Tyson Fury probably getting the edge over whoever comes out of this victorious. And I see Usyk likely being able to outbox AJ once again. And then eventually we'll see those guys square off. But this fight's going to be awesome. Yeah,
this is going to be a good fight. And that's what I love about heavyweight boxing right now. Any way you square these guys off, you're going to get great fights because there's so many good heavyweights right now.
Right.
This is a great time to be a fan of boxing, especially heavyweight boxing. And Dillian Whyte, what we know about him is he's only lost twice in his career, knocked out both times. AJ knocked him out, which I'm sure he would love to avenge at some point down the line. And then Alexander Povetkin knocked him out. Now, he immediately avenged that one. Right. So he was knocked out in the 5th round, it was, I believe. He came back immediately and knocked out Povetkin in the 4th round. He goes, you got me in the 5th, I'll come back and do you one better.
That's exciting.
Very exciting. And then Otto Wallin has only ever lost to Tyson Fury. So this is a very competitive heavyweight matchup. Wallin is the slight favorite. He's about 2 inches taller than Dillian Whyte. I think the advantage in punching power will probably go to Whyte. And what we've seen with Whyte is he's a bit inconsistent, right? Like, how do you get knocked out by a guy and then turn around a few months later and come back and knock him out? He was the big favorite leading into that fight, made some mistakes, ended up paying for it. So I think it's going to really depend on what Dillian Whyte comes out. I think he's going to be the better puncher of the two. I think Wallin could create some real problems given that height and that reach and the way he uses it. Yeah. This is a very close fight. Our friend Dan Hewitt over at Boxing TV.
Yeah, shout out to Dan.
Shout out to Dan. Great guy doing great things over there. Is English and has come out and said, you heard it from me first, Otto Wallin wins this fight. So I want to give him some shine. He was the first one to come out and say it. I can't disagree with him. I can't say that he's wrong in that matter.
Yeah, I think this is a tough fight for Dillian Whyte. And like you said, Wallin's just a different guy, so he's hard to train for. There's not a ton of bodies that are similar to his size and skill and just the awkwardness that you can find and get rounds with. I think that Dillian Whyte has the potential to beat Otto Wallin and possibly become one of the greatest current heavyweight boxers. But like you said, if he can lose a fight to a guy and then only a couple of months later, where he didn't have a ton of space or time to get better or improve as a boxer, and then come back and win by knockout, that shows that there's an inconsistency in how he shows up.
Right.
And if you're performing at 100% some nights and then at 70% some nights, rather than just a cool 85 every time you go out there, then, it's a little bit harder to rely on you if you're a betting person or if you're somebody who's a big fan. It can kind of send your heart through your lungs, really. But I'm interested in this fight because I think Dillian Whyte will be able to use some of that power early on, but I'm going to agree with Dan in this one. I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think Otto Wallin he's just going to be able to get the job done. It's going to be a longer fight than the 4 or 5 rounds that they've had recently. I think that Wallin realizes that he gave Tyson Fury the hardest match that we've seen him give in a long time, and he can probably do it again. Yeah. So he's probably extra hungry to try to get back in there with Tyson Fury, who is seeming to be on top of the world right now, especially the boxing world, but obviously is the biggest star in the sport right now. And that's the one thing I love about heavyweight boxing. You were talking about how Dillian Whyte likely has the chance to land that power shot, and one shot can change a heavyweight boxing match. And don't get me wrong, I love the smaller guys, the super technical, featherweights and all the guys from 115 pounds up to heavyweight. But there's just something special about the heavyweight division. And when it's, firing on all cylinders the way it is right now, it's just a thing of beauty. And I'm really happy to have it as thriving as it is. And as a big fan of heavyweight fighting of all kinds, it's really cool to have the boxing, matching the MMA and matching the kickboxing and all that stuff right now.
Yeah, when heavyweight boxing is at its best, boxing is at its best.
Right.
When there's somebody like Lennox Lewis that's tearing through everybody, or Mike Tyson, even back, way back to the Muhammad Ali days, who a lot of people say Muhammad Ali saved boxing in a lot of ways and made people really interested in the sport again, which is why even more so than his record, he's gone down as one of the greatest of all times, if not the greatest of all time.
Right.
When heavyweight boxing is good, then boxing is good, and business is good, especially for Bob Arum and Top Rank, who's got one in Tyson Fury right now. But yeah, I mean, if Dillian Whyte, even though I think Otto Wallin probably will pull this out, Dillian Whyte certainly could catch him, certainly could knock him out, and then that makes things very interesting because Dillian Whyte's a character, just like Tyson Fury, and we know for a good night of business, it's best to have 2 characters. When you have Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz, it's just better than when you have Conor McGregor and fill in the blank.
Yep.
So when you have a back and forth between 2 guys that like to talk a little trash to each other, are pretty crafty and nifty with their words, then that just makes for a great fight. And you better believe if Dillian Whyte beats Wallin more soundly than Fury does, he's getting on that microphone and he's calling out Fury. I don't know if he'll sing a song, but I guarantee you he will entertain us post-fight, which will set up an incredible match while we wait for Usyk Joshua.
Yeah, I think that's a great fight. I'm almost sort of leaning towards Dillian Whyte to win this one. Not as because I think he's going to win it. I still feel Otto Whyte might win it, but it would be so good for the sport as the filler fight while we wait for everything the dust to settle and everybody to file into their certain positions, see who's fighting Fury next, see who's fighting Usyk next, and all of that stuff. So I would love to see the mega fight that would be a filler fight for Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury. That would be super fun. I think Tyson Fury is a little bit too much for Dillian Whyte, and I also think that he's still improving as a boxer and would be able to actually perform better against Otto Wallin in the second installment. But, man, both of these guys are legit. They're going to put on a great show, and I really can't wait to see this fight.
Yeah, me either, man.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Let us know in the comments, who do you think is going to win this fight? We always love chatting with you guys in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to the Barnhill Brothers channel yet, we appreciate if you would smash that subscribe button and the like button as well, guys. And if you listen to audio podcasts, check us out there as well. Until the next time, have a great day.
Peace.